Welcome to this Brit Wres Scandi Graps special. Our guest this week is one half of the English commentary team for Copenhagen Championship Wrestling. He is also one half of the commentary team for Odyssey Pro Wrestling and Pro 2. He is the host of the Kurt Johansson Show podcast, and he is the man himself, Kurt Johansson. Thank you very much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. Really excited to be coming on your show. You've been doing an incredible job recently showing like all the great stuff we've been doing in Odyssey Pro Wrestling for starters, and causing quite a stir between Sam and Hill and Lance Rivera, which is always fun to see, I guess. But no, happy to be on and talking not only things for like Odyssey and Pro 2, but again, a Scandi Graps lover like yourself. So it'll be good to, anytime I get to speak about European wrestling is always fun.
Yeah, I'm still very, very new to Scandi Graps. It was yourself and listening to and seeing what you were promoting on Twitter, and I was like, okay, so what is this? And I started to get into WXW Germany at the time, and it just kind of, now it's the entire scene. I always include a little quick wrestling, European wrestling roundup now on the full Brit Wres roundup.
Oh, that's great.
We are, of course, the Untitled Great British Wrestling podcast for Great British Wrestling, as featured on bodyslam.net, brought to you by Powered 4 TV. Yes, I didn't mess it up on the last Brit Wres roundup. I tried 3 times to do that, and I fluffed it all 3 times. I am the Great British Attacker, Mr. Andrew Moore, and D2 Most. Unfortunately, Big Daddy Dan cannot join us today. He is in a counselling meeting, working hard for all of you guys out there. Shall we kick off talking a bit about Scandi Graps? As I say, I'm very new to the scene. You're originally from Sweden, is that correct?
See, this is where people kind of get confused. So obviously, last name Johansson is Scandinavian. So my father's side of the family is where I get like the Scandinavian heritage. His dad, like my dad and his dad, Swedish. And then his mum's side was Danish. So there's always been that blood and that kind of heritage and stuff like that within the family. But I don't know, I'm a little bit mix of everything. So I've got South African in me, Irish, Danish, Swedish, English. So I kind of absorbed all of that and thought, you know what, let's put that into my podcast. And then before I know it, I'm interviewing people from wrestling scenes that didn't even know existed.
Yeah, I got the same thing when we started. Now we get introduced, as you say. So it's just like, I don't know where this all came from. I don't know why. But no, I love what you're doing. I love the fact that you did bring this. You talked about an entire, because there is more to wrestling than just AWWE or ROH or even New Japan. And British wrestling is fantastic right now. Yes, it had a load of setbacks, but it's looking better than it was, and we need to keep improving on that. And then, of course, the European wrestling scene, WXW in Germany has always been a hotbed for talent. You think of Walter, Teoman, Ilya Dragunov, just so many great wrestlers, Axel Tisco, Alexander Wolf, and it seems like people are only interested in the big stars or the big companies.
Yeah, and I think that's what like my show kind of embodied, where I used to do a different podcast with a different group that was really successful, was interviewing people like Lance Archer when he was having the hottest run during the G1 and things like that. And I loved speaking about that, but it's difficult when people have been interviewed a million different times. How can you make it different? And I think that's what I was looking at, because you could always see the trend on Twitter where one person interviews somebody and then before you know it, 5, 6, 7 more, because you see, oh, cool, that person's up for interviews. I'm going to reach out to him because I'd like to speak to him. And so it's like, no disrespect to like the bigger companies or anything like that, but I was like, how can I make myself different? And it just started off with, so Reach Wrestling, so underrated in the British wrestling scene. I was covering a lot of their content and was speaking to a lot of their academy graduates during the pandemic. And some of them had literally just had like their first ever match or 2 or 3 matches. And now seeing those guys and girls coming out of the academy, getting bookings in multiple different places down in the south of England has been incredible. You've got people like LA Taylor, where she's just made a Rev Pro debut, and I had her on the show, I think it was a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, and she had like 3 matches under her belt. And so I just found it so much more entertaining because there's a different story to tell, and it's a story people haven't heard. And so I started actually looking into all these different wrestling scenes and seeing people at that grassroots level, or different indie scenes at grassroots level where they're just starting out and they're trying to break out. That's what I've enjoyed finding out, and it's just opens up your eyes to different kind of styles, different matchups, different characters that you've never seen before. And then it's been great to see, for considering we've been in like a 2-year pandemic, to see the growth of Scandinavian and Nordic wrestling. I hate just saying Scandi Graps because I feel like I'm leaving out Finland. But like the Nordic wrestling scene, the growth they've had during a pandemic when they couldn't really do the wrestling has been absolutely incredible. I think there's more eyes on the Nordic wrestling scene now, post-pandemic and during the pandemic, than there probably was previously.
Yeah, because you've got I think the big one for me is Body Slam. They're on IWTV. Yeah. They have the English commentary, which really does help. And what you're now going to be doing with Copenhagen, as you say, it's going to help grow the scene more, because a lot of people sometimes they're just like, oh, I don't understand the commentary, I don't understand the wrestlers, so I'm not going to think. But yes, in some ways, wrestling's, no matter the country, the language is kind of the same. You understand the story that is wrestling. You may not understand, say, the language, but you can understand the actions and behaviors of certain people.
100%. And I think any sport's it's a universal language, like any other sport in the world. I don't speak Spanish, but I'd happily watch La Liga football. And it's like that with wrestling. Commentators are, obviously, I'm going to say we're great because we try and tell the story. And like in my role as being this interviewer, and now what I'm trying to do with the commentary, of being able to be that English voice for all these different companies so they can try and expand and grow their audience. But at the same time, and I don't want to talk myself out of potential jobs and the jobs I've got, but I'd happily watch New Japan if it was in the native language, if Body Slam if it was in the native language, anywhere really, or even if they didn't have the commentary, if the wrestling's as good and they're telling the story in the ring, which 9 times out of 10 they will be doing, that's all that matters really. It's us.
Oh, I think I've lost Kurt. I'm sure he'll be back just shortly, at which point we'll talk about the crowds that are there. Are you with us, Kurt? Oh.
Can you see me, hear me now?
Yes, yes, you're back.
I was just talking away. I could see you moving around to it, and then I was like, oh, we've lost you. But no, I think with the different commentary and stuff like that that's out there, if the story's right in the ring, then the commentary isn't as needed. It just helps enhance the match.
Yeah, and the crowds are certainly very raucous. You can see how much that they just entertain. They love every part of it. It kind of reminded me of a very old Progress when it really first started out, and the way the crowds would be for the shows.
Yeah, because the passionate, and I think that's something that some companies here in the UK have now been lacking because of the incidents that have been going on with speaking out. And again, British wrestling it's not being cleansed, it's not perfect. People are trying to make the correct steps to make it a better and a safer environment. But I think that kind of zapped some of the passion, I think, out of certain fans. Like Progress, from what I've seen them doing, they've been doing some great stuff. But I don't think the crowd base is as rabid as they used to be.
No, not quite yet.
On the flip side, ICW have just returned to the garage. They've just done ICW Bard, and all over social media, just seeing performers say how electric that crowd was. And I think that's the same when you are looking at like the likes of Body Slam, where it's just like a rowdy party, and with Copenhagen Championship Wrestling, and hopefully if we'll get to see like the Nordic Elite Wrestling stuff, I imagine it's going to be a similar crowd. Like, it's people just want to go drink and watch wrestling.
Yeah, and it's great to see British performers also now making that trip across. American performers have recently. I mean, we've had Form Vertigo, Warhorse is going to be at Copenhagen. Jonathan Gresham, of course, defended the ROH World Title against Emeritus.
That's it. That's incredible. But even if you look further back, you've had people like Angelico that came over years ago wrestling the likes of Nitro Green. And there's always been that history of some of the big American wrestlers or some of the big stars on indie dropping in to that scene. And I'm hoping now that it's growing, and I believe the Nordic wrestling scene are now utilizing Twitter a lot more, which is a good thing. The amount of people I interviewed saying you need to get Twitter. For example, Alice Inc. Alice had no intentions of getting Twitter. Marcus of Man was telling her for ages he should get it. And I was like, look, you need to get it because, one, you're a badass in the ring. Two, you look like a badass. Three, it'll get you noticed. And now she's killing it everywhere. She's coming over to England. And I'm hoping with the growth of Twitter and social media for the like Nordic wrestling scene, that's something to grow. And you've seen it with Rings of Europe. Like, they've been putting on some fantastic shows, getting some of the best female wrestlers in Europe, all going out to like the likes of Austria and stuff like that. So it's great to see. The more big names are traveling into like the Scandi Graps and the Nordic scene's fantastic, but then you get in the other end, you've getting Brits going over there, but you've also got them coming over here now and getting multiple opportunities. And 9 times out of 10, if they've been booked over here once, they're getting brought back, which is a good thing. So, and I'm happy to try and like help and vouch for that, really. It's something that I've been trying to pride myself in, to try and help these guys get over. Like, when people have said, oh, thank you and stuff like that, at the end of the day, all I say is, hey, this person's cool. Check out this match. It's them that are doing the incredible work in the ring. I'm just happy to try and shout it from the rooftops to see what companies are going to listen to them.
Yeah, because Liz Inc. is 100% an absolute badass. I caught her match with Chantel Jordan recently on Rings of Europe. She's a badass as well. So the two absolutely just kicked the crap out of each other, and that was just a fantastic match. She had a great match against Session Moth Martina and at Body Slam, and recently at Wrestle Island against Lance Rivera, and I can't remember who was in the third. It was triple threat.
Yeah, I'm not too sure who, because it was a replacement. It was supposed to be Cam Solas to begin with, and then Cam couldn't make the show, so they brought somebody else in. But yeah, and the fact she's getting Please Come Back chance, and she's coming back in May, and then Carlos Samara, he's been killing it. He's just like had a match with RPD as well. And the fact that he's coming here for nearly every Wrestle Island show now is part of their roster. That's incredible. Like, the first Danish-born wrestler to have a tryout with WWE. He looks like a star. And I think the more places he gets going, he's going to be incredible.
Yeah, because he started out in MMA, is that right?
Yeah, he's got that like mixed martial arts background to him, and he's made that transition, and his conditioning's incredible. Like, he stands out, he looks like a superstar. And yeah, there's a reason why WWE looked at him to be the first Danish-born to have trials with them. And yeah, the fact that he's now coming across to England and hopefully get booked in more places here in England. He's had a couple of bookings so far. I think Tidal booked him not too long ago. There's Wrestle Ireland, and then there's, I think, somewhere, it might be CWE Coventry. I think there's 3 companies that he's worked for over here so far. And once other companies like Wrestle Ireland that are very popular on the internet start booking him and his matches are getting put up on demand and stuff like that, it's only a matter of time before the likes of Progress or Rev Pro start looking at Carlos and Alice.
You know what? I'd love to have seen him against A-Kid in NXT UK. Of course, A-Kid's now moved on, but that would be a very interesting matchup. Two very skilled technical workers. So I'd like to see that. Also, Chris, I'd like to see him fight against Chris Ridgway. I think that would be a great match.
Yeah, that'd be one of the matches I'd like to see him have down the road for sure. Obviously, Ridgway's just gone back out to Japan for Noah, which is incredible to see. But yeah, there's so many matches. Like, I'd like him to test himself against somebody like Dean Allmark. I think Dean Allmark's one of the measuring sticks when it comes to if you can go in the ring. Like Dean Allmark's that statement. If you can, I won't even say keep up because Allmark's that good, but yeah, I think that'd be a match I'd like to see.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, and because just of how great Dean Allmark is, he can help anybody he's in the ring with at any time. And just one match with Dean Allmark, you will learn so much.
100%.
So that would be a great match for him. Now, we've talked about the Scandi Graps. Obviously, there's the Italian wrestling scene. You have Rising Sun, the Italian Wrestling Association. They're doing some great work. Really got into the Hungary scene at the moment due to Passion Pro's work. Are you familiar with them?
I've not really looked at the Hungarian scene, to be honest. There's way too many. There's way too many scenes to be looking out there. Because I wasn't only just doing like the Scandinavian stuff, I was doing all the Southeast Asia work as well. So interviewing people from Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, China. So there was just literally just so much wrestling out there. And I think now that the pandemic's closed off and I'm back at working full time and stuff like that, it's just it's a difficult one to go into. So I've been looking at different scenes. I think especially within my role of wanting to have a look at what's got a good wrestling scene, who don't have English commentators and stuff like that, and kind of do the network and introduction. So I may have to have a look at the Hungarian wrestling scene.
Yeah, you've got, I think it's HCW, Hungarian Championship Wrestling is the main one, the Passion of a brand new promotion. But what they've been doing is bringing in lots of everyone from Europe, because I believe it's the Arrow to Hungary that are kind of behind it.
Okay.
And they've got all their WXW, quite friendly with them. And they had the showcase at the... was it the 16 carat show, which was fantastic. That was. Have you seen the showcase with Wrestle Carnival?
Not this recent one though. Because I know Wrestle Carnival went out there as well, and of course Body Slam goes out there and stuff like that. It's been quite manic. My end, to be fair, I started a new job last month, then got COVID like a week and a half into the new role within like same organization, but different role, and then it's been quite hectic. I've had obviously Odyssey bookings, and I'm doing Pro 2 like every other week now, doing their weekly shows, catching up on the catalogue, what they've got. So my wrestling time's been quite limited because there's only so much, to be fair. And then I've got to be mindful of my wife's business and my parental duties as well, spending time with my little girl. So in terms of watching as much indie wrestling as I'd like, it's been very minimal. So I may need a list to compile and be like, right, when you get 5 minutes, work your way through this, because I've got a newborn on its way. So I imagine I'm going to be up many nights, and that'll be a great time to catch up on some of the top shows around.
Well, let's talk about what you're doing with Pro 2, because that sounded really interesting when we were talking about it off screen. Because when did that kind of start out, and all the guys that you're working with there?
So Pro 2, let me think. It probably started out about a year ago. It was a new company that was born out of the pandemic, and somebody I interviewed, Emily Hayden, she got announced for the show, and me and Emily, after our interview, became good friends. We keep in touch. We started doing our own little show at one point, and it was just a way for us, let's catch up and talk about horror or Marvel or whatever, but we'll just record it. And I was having a look at some of the graphics that was getting made for like some of the talent announcements, and I'm like, there could be better at the time. And I think it was just somebody where it was helping him out. He wasn't a graphic designer. They was just trying to make something happen. So I kind of like to try and help Emily as well. I was like, yeah, look, I'll help you with your graphics. So I was like, right, for your first batch, I'll do them free of charge because it isn't something I've done before. Like I've created my own graphics, but I've never done graphic announcements for companies or anything like that. So I thought it would be a good way to improve my skills and build a portfolio. So yeah, it started out as that, and then I ended up getting Logan Storm, the owner, on my show and was talking all things Pro 2. And it was at the end of it, it was like, he's got a saying, like, if somebody's part of the roster, he asks them if they're Pro 2. And at the end of the interview, he asked me if I was Pro 2. So I was like, yeah, like, don't know what this is going to mean. Like, we'll see. And we've discussed different things, like possibilities of me of going down there and getting some experience being a manager. And they didn't know what they was going to do in terms of the distribution of their content and stuff like that. Like, there was releasing the occasional match without any commentary. So it was really, and little editing, like there was no production or show behind it. So it was been chatting, like there's a few of us in the admin chat and stuff like that. And then it just sparred out there. I ended up being announced as a talent scout for them. So when it comes to people trying to get bookings from England to go to Scotland, I tend to review all the footage, give my honest opinion, feed it back to the team. Like, right, yep, you need to have a look at these guys. Let us know what you think. And then my connections with the European wrestling scene as well. So during the pandemic, I jumped on Looking Sharp's online dojo. He's doing some like online training. And I was jumped in on like the Hector Guerrero one and the Selena De Laurento one, just to be able to pick their brains about commentary. And because of that, I kind of had my in with a lot of their young students and like all the up and coming talent in Scotland. So yeah, it just became a thing of like, I'd pass on talent from Looking Sharp's dojo, all the European talent that are in there, and then all the English talent. So that was like my first proper role, I guess, is doing like the talent scouting and the graphic designs. And then we've just started the commentary show. So we've got Pro Tuesday, it's called. So, and released every other Tuesday. We're trying to get it released, and it's great. We just tend to do 2 matches. It'll have a couple of interviews and a couple of segments on there. And we're just going to keep releasing them every other week. So we're doing a lot of the catalogue that started in like October, November time. And yeah, so that's just been a great learning experience. Again, just from, I guess it's putting some good out in the world. Like, I just offered a new company, hey, do you want help to make your branding look a little bit more crisper? And now they've got Jamie doing all the graphics, and Jamie's incredible. Like, he's doing the Copenhagen Championship Wrestling graphics as well now. So no, he's doing great. But yeah, it was a good experience to do a bit of video editing for them, to be doing this, I guess, the talent scouting and trying to help with who we should be bringing in to the company. And recently we've just dropped a promo for this Sunday show from Stone Malone. He's going to be challenging the UEWA heavyweight champion Andy Wild. So it's great. Like, we're bringing European titles. We've had Nitro Green bring the UEWA European Cruiserweight. Now we've got Andy Wild defending the European Heavyweight title. So I helped Stone Malone with the promo work of it. So I messaged him like, right, we need this sort of promo. These are kind of some of the bullet points. I didn't want to be, here's a script, because we know how well that works for certain companies. But it was like, right, here's a few good points you could use about Andy. Here's a good few points you could use about the European Heavyweight Championship. Tell the story, put your own spin on it, and it was a fantastic job. It did great, and it just that's good experience, and the fact that it, to me and to the team, we all thought he did an amazing job. Like, that's on stone. He's done the delivery, he's done the execution of the promo, but it's just good to see, good to be valued, I guess, like having people respect your opinion. And I think Ethan said it to you where when he says, right, we've got this person on, and I'll be like, yeah, right, and I've got the research, or I've got the knowledge, or constantly like, hey, this person's great, or hey, this person's in the area. So it's great. Like, and Ethan's always like, with Odyssey, we book our shows like a year in advance. We know the story we're wanting to tell. We know what direction we want to go, and we've got that core roster. And then obviously things happen in wrestling, people drop out and stuff like that. So that's why I like to be like, hey, look at this person, or hey, look at that person. And I think if I keep dropping hints about this person being available or this person being good, hopefully I'll get them in either Pro 2 or Odyssey Pro Wrestling, or even Copenhagen.
Yeah, because you mentioned, obviously, there seems to be a bit of a connection between Copenhagen Wrestling and the Pro 2.
Yeah, it's nothing official. I just think you've got Luke Sharp out there with Copenhagen Championship Wrestling. He's doing a lot of the booking at the moment. So he's been getting a lot of the Scottish guys over there. So we had Ruby Roberts facing Lexi, like in a killer match. Lexi with broken noses, first female hardcore match in Copenhagen, and that's Ruby coming over from Scotland. But Ruby was also on episode 1 of Pro Tuesday fighting Emily Hayden. We've got Ewan O'Rourke going out there making his debut shortly. I've just recently called one of his matches against Mark Billington. So there's that kind of relationship. And then because we've had Luke Sharp and Nitro Green happen, where that's where Luke Sharp became the UEWA European Cruiserweight Champion, was beating Nitro Green at Pro 2. So it's not, I don't want to like put words into companies' mouths. It's not a working relationship. I just think there's a few different people, myself, Luke Sharp, that are involved in both companies, I guess. And then there's that talent where we've got talent that are on our shows getting amazing opportunities in Denmark, but then we're also looking at the Danish scene and the whole of Scandinavia and thinking, right, who could we fly over here to put on our shows as well?
Yeah, and you've got there's one that you've got coming up, you're going to be doing commentary for. You mentioned Lexi Lux there, but before we go into CCW as full, let's talk about the OPW invasion of Nordic wrestling. So I'll let you know who Ethan chose. Yep. I said he had to choose 8 people, including 3 females. He went with Lizzie, Evo, Tonga, and Gia Adams as the women.
So and Lizzie, Tonga, and was that Alexis, did you say?
No, Gia Adams.
And Gia Adams. Okay.
And then on the men's side, he did cheat here. He had Nathan Cruz.
Yeah.
He has one match. Reese and Rogan and Synergy.
I love that.
So you're booking 2 tag team matches, 3 women's matches, and I guess a main event match.
That's an interesting one. So off the back, I'm thinking Lizzie Evo. She loves to scrap, doesn't she? Like she can give it verbally and in the ring. So I'd probably put her against Alice Inc. I think them two could have a good fiery scrap and tell some good stories together. With Tonga, ooh. I'm gonna cheat here. I'm gonna say I think Betty Rose and Regina Rosendale. So sorry, Tonga. I know you're our champ and that, but she can go in the triple threat against them too. So we've got obviously Betty Rose from Sweden. She's again incredible. Great character as well. And then Regina, she's just an absolute killer and such a lovely person as well. From Finland, one of the head trainers in Fight Club Finland as well. And a great advocate for women's European wrestling. So yeah, I'd go Tonga, Betty Rose, and Regina Rosendale. And then with Gia, I'd have to go with Six. Like I think them two would just be two. They'll just batter each other. Like two powerhouses, two of the hardest hitting, and I think visually that'd be an amazing match to see. And again, Six, she's somebody that I'm hoping will break out into the UK wrestling scene. It wasn't one that I could manage to convince on Twitter. She's done the wise thing, I guess, and stayed away from the cesspool that can be Twitter. But yeah, that'd be a great match. Tag teams. So we're going to go with Synergy versus Steinbolt and Tank Anderson, so Swedish Elite. I think they are two teams where they've got the power and the athleticism. And I think that would just be four thoroughbreds just going at it. I think that'd be an incredible match. And then my boys, Reese and Rogan, if you listen to Odyssey, like always putting them over, my whole boys, I guess. So I tend to do a lot of my traveling down with them. They would go, it would be Randy Spania. Like they're going for the body slam titles. And both of them, like obviously Synergy are absolutely incredible. They're a fantastic team. And Reese and Rogan are, and I kept advocating it as and hyping it up as like the most anticipated tag match in like North of England. And I was like, Christ, mate, like you're putting it over that big, like, don't know if we can deliver. And obviously they had TLC at Piafia, and then they've just had two back-to-back matches at Odyssey Pro Wrestling. They had one in Tidal as well. But Reese and Rogan, wow, they just they get it. They get tag team wrestling, they respect tag team wrestling, as do Synergy. And I just think going against Randers would be a fantastic match because you've got Randers, the cocky, the arrogant, the outlandish. Depends where it would be, whether they'd be face or heels. And then you got Reese and Rogan, that's going to punch him in the mouth. And then probably cannonball him in the corner. I think that'd be an incredible matchup. And then Cruz. So again, Cruz is somebody who was essentially one of my first introductions into British wrestling. Oh man, see, this is where I'm like, how many multi-man matches can I put in? Because there's so many people that I'd want to see that it would have to be Carlos Samara, Nathan Cruz, whether Carlos is the body slam champion if he beats Michael Finn, or for the Nordic Elite. And yeah, Cruz to me is one of the best British wrestlers there is, hands down. He is absolutely incredible. And I'm going to cheat because there's more people that I want to put on there. I'd throw Alexis Falcon in against Lexi Lux. I'd love to see Alexis coming out to Denmark. There is Scotty Rourke. Give me Scotty Rourke versus Endakara. And that's going to steal the show that it's on.
Yes. Endakara versus Francesco Akira, who I'm repping today, and that body slam match. That was so good.
Exactly. Incredible. Endakara, he's somebody that needs to get over here, back into the UK. Absolutely incredible, obviously representing Sweden. He's got the Turkish heritage as well. And he is fantastic. And so is Scotty. Like the both would just it'd be so fast paced, it'd be so raw, and everything that I'd be getting hit it'd be so good. It would be incredible. And then I would I'll say this is my last one because I can't keep throwing out a million different matches. It'd be truly, I'd have to do a WrestleMania and book 2 weekend, like a full weekend. But for me, one of my MVPs, and we'll get into Odyssey, one of my MVPs of Odyssey Pro Wrestling's been 2-Bit. 2-Bit's been incredible. I'd seen a lot of his work at BWR, but post-pandemic, a bit like Scotty, they've just took it to a next level, and everything he does is just fantastic. It really is. And I would book 2-Bit against... Oh, Christ. I keep booking myself into a corner. I'm going to cheat again and throw a couple in. So it can be Copenhagen Championship Wrestling. It can be either the UEWA Cruiserweight title, or it can be the CCW title, which Nitro has. It can be Nitro Green, Looking Sharp, and 2-Bit.
I like it. So the 8 out of the original chosen, this was my guess at what you would have done. I did pretty well. I got Reese and Rogan, Randus Pagne. I also got Synergy versus Swedish Elite and Lizzie Evo against Alice Inc. I put Lexi Lux against Tonga because I always think Tonga, she's so good, but she struggles against the more harder core women. So I would have thought that would be the matchup for her. I had Regina Rosendale against Gia Adams because I just wanted a big Hoss women's fight. And for Nathan Cruz, it was I went with a fatal four. It was Emeritus, Michael Finn, and Carlos Samara.
I'd happily turn it into that fatal four. I just didn't want to do too many multi-person matches, but I think that it just shows how good, again, the Odyssey roster, because there's so many more I want to bring off that, but then with just how good the Scandi scene is at the moment. And I tell you what, as one more, and I said I wouldn't, but Easy Lovers in a 6-man match with Freak Show with Isaiah Quinn at ringside.
That would be a fun, weird...
All the characters.
Including Dark Mark, I take it.
Yeah, so you can have any variation. Obviously, Will's currently nursing a broken nose, so we don't know when he'd be back, but Will Carter Nightmare, and then we'll have Dark Mark with Isaiah Quinn as there. And I just think going against Easy Lovers, I think it's the characters of it. It'd fascinate me of how Isaiah Quinn would react to how Easy Lovers are, and I think you've got Bam Bam, and him going against Dark Mark would be very entertaining. And then with Eric Sable and Jack Pork going against the original Freak Show and Nightmare and Will Carter I think that'd be...
Yeah, I see
it. It'd be a fun match, and it'd be different. It's not going to be that huge indie match, but I think it'd be a match that everybody would walk away talking about, because I think it'd be so entertaining because of the 7 people that would be involved.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're definitely new to Scandi Graps or want to see, Google the music video for the Easy Lovers, the music video promo that they did. It is so brilliantly 80s. I absolutely do love the Easy Lovers. So we'll talk about, do you want to introduce the upcoming Copenhagen Championship Wrestling show? They've got 4 matches announced so far, if I'm right.
Yes, so we've got it's called Sicker Than Your Average. We've got that coming up, and that's on Saturday, May 7th, again in Copenhagen. And the matches that we've got, I believe, we've got 4 matches. We've got Victor Volt versus Uno Raw. That's just been announced, like 2 big hitters. Volt's fantastic. Interviewed him. It blew my mind. He spoke fluent Japanese. I don't even think he's ever been to Japan.
Wow.
And he's just taught himself fluent Japanese, and it suit that environment as well. Like, I'm not going to try and book a match for him, actually, because we've already done that. But then the big, strong, like, man with the ginger sex appeal in Uno Raw he's fantastic. I think that'll be a great match. And when Uno was announced, I was like, that was the match that I was hoping for out of those two. Then we've got Seb Silva's. Obviously, he got a big win at Grunge, which is going to be the TV tapings that myself and Jonas is going to be doing when we get the footage over here. He's going to be going against Adonis, which I'm excited for. Adonis making his Copenhagen Championship debut, one half of Randers Panya. And that's one thing I'm happy with. We're seeing a lot more body slam people or even body slam characters, because Copenhagen, they'll use their other personas usually. We're now going to be seeing the Adonis character in Copenhagen Championship Wrestling, making his debut against Seb Silvers. So that's going to be great. Then we've got the UEWA European Cruiserweight title in Looking Sharp versus Sebastian Day. Sebastian being a former CCW heavyweight champion. That's going to be an entertaining match. Like, these two know each other really well, both inside the ring and outside the ring. So professional and personally. So, and I think they always make the best chemistry. When you've got people with the bond like that they've got, I think that'll be a really entertaining match. And Lou's done an incredible job. Talk about, like, again, what we were saying earlier, trying to make ourselves different. He's done that in professional wrestling, being the blood tourist, traveling to all the different countries he's been to, even including China. So, yeah, that'll be a great match. And then so far, we've got that CCW, the Copenhagen Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Championship match, which surely going to be the main event. We've got Emeritus, which so happy that he's in CCW. Again, somebody else that should be booked all over Europe. He's going to be facing the champion Nitro Green and Warhorse. That's it. Warhorse is coming to Copenhagen Championship Wrestling. That is going to be so entertaining, that matchup.
Yeah, Warhorse, if you've been following his social media of his time in the UK, he's been having an absolute blast, and he's been so entertaining on it. And it's great to see him doing this tour in the UK now. And then, as you say, head over to Denmark and get some more bookings. Why not? Yeah. Really looking forward to it. It does sound like a fantastic show. So obviously, there may be a couple of people from Denmark listening. So if you're available and can get down to Copenhagen, definitely do so. In fact, actually, if you're in the UK, I'm sure it doesn't cost much to travel down to Copenhagen. Get yourself over there and watch some wrestling.
Might not be the best. I don't know what flights are like at the moment, obviously, with the COVID inflation and everything else inflating in the current climate. But yeah, if you can, make sure you go there, or once we've got our recordings out, make sure you're going to be following the YouTube channels. So have a look at Copenhagen Championship Wrestling on social media. We've also got, like, EV Entertainment. They were at Grunge. I'm sure that tag team's going to be at Sicker Than Your Average. On the poster, we've got Chaos as well, like one of the godfathers of Danish wrestling. Obviously, the runner of Dansk Pro Wrestling, which is the longest, like the oldest company in Denmark. And then we've got Copenhagen Hangman, former CCW champion, lost to Nitro. Like, what's going to happen there? And then we've got Ruby Roberts. Excuse me. Ruby Roberts is going out there again after the amazing showing with Lexi Lukes, and don't know who she'll be facing. I don't know who the replacement for Bobby Roberts will be. Bobby was supposed to go out there from Scotland as well, who, again, commentated not too long ago on his match at Pro 2. But unfortunately, he's going to be retiring. His last match is going to be, I think, this coming Sunday, so Sunday the 1st of May. He's going to be retiring and closing Respect Pro Wrestling up in Scotland. So wish Bobby a good retirement, and it's a shame we didn't get to see him going to Denmark. Like, he's just a big, hard-hitting man with a point to prove, so that would have been fun to see.
No, Match had just thought that we should definitely try to make happen, because I know Ian Skinner out there is a fan of the show, so hopefully he's watching. We need to get Ian Skinner versus Carlos Samara.
As soon as you mentioned Ian, that was the name that came up in my head, because and Ian's a great, fantastic in the ring, and an even better person. He is great. Like, me and Emily Hayden and Ian ended up doing an episode of what we call D and Dub. So for those that are interested in Dungeons and Dragons and wrestling, we're kind of like mix the two, I guess, and talked about like fantasy party, like what would use and stuff like that. But Ian's fantastic. He's somebody that would mix it up really well with Carlos.
You're hearing that, ICW? Get that booked.
100%.
It'd be a great match.
They've been utilising some of the best talent in the UK recently. We've seen G Adams going over there, Alexis Falcon, Tonga, Synergy. They've just been in the cage against Kings of the North. Reese and Rogan just made their ICW debut. Get Carlos Samara making his ICW debut in the TV tapings. And he's somebody else who I think if they saw him and if they saw his work, he'd get booked again.
Yeah, I loved Skinner's match against Akira again. Another one of those fantastic. And as you say, they would just be right. Get it booked.
I'd love to see him get an opportunity in Japan.
Yeah,
I think he'd really suit. If he managed to go out to, I think Dragon Gate or Noah would be a couple of the best ones. Unless he wanted to do like the Young Lion stuff with New Japan, that'd be a good fit for him as well.
He's very entertaining. I think he could do a lot in DDT as well. I think he could have a lot of fun over in DDT thinking about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's not just one. He's not one trick pony. He's got a good look. He's great in the ring, and then he's got that personality where it can show two different sides. And I think that's like it was on Britain's Got Talent as well, which is just a weird fun factor for out there.
I got my Dungeons and Dragons beginner set. It's something I've always wanted to get into for a little while with my amazing fiance, soon to be wife. Thankfully, we're finally getting married after about 5 years of constant planning and obviously COVID and whatnot. Actually, it's 10 years in the planning, thinking about it when we've some things get in the way every now and then.
Yeah.
And but yes, really looking forward to that. But yeah, we're hoping to get into Dungeons and Dragons. There's apparently I think it's in stock where quite close to where I live. It says there's a place where you can meet and learn stuff as beginners. So that, but really fun.
It's something that I've always wanted to get into, but I just didn't have the friends for it. Like, I always used to I was like the cool geek at school, I guess, where I was playing for the football teams and I was always into that. But then I'd be like, my wrestling, my superhero stuff. And I was always like to and fro in, but never knew anybody that liked D&D. And then here I am. I'm now 29. Been playing it for a couple of years, and it all stemmed from my job where, again, not allowed to say what is on air, but people in a professional setting, and we've all been like, all of a sudden it's there's 4 or 5 of us that was like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to do D&D. Oh yeah, I've always wanted to do D&D. So then we've started doing it. Our setup's fantastic now. Like we've got couple of them just like making stuff. So our tabletops like look fantastic of like little huts that have been made. It's an expensive hobby. I spent like £40 on a single pair of dice because they matched my character. I'm doing a.
You went that deep.
Yeah, I'm doing a Dragonborn sorcerer that's got brass scales, called Azeroth, and I've actually got. I think I've got the dice up here. So you can hear all the dice moving around in there. So we've got loads of different dice, which I don't know if everyone can see on there. And the ones that I actually...
Oh, I think
so heavy, and it's just brass dragon scales. Oh, there we go.
Oh, wow.
So it's like brass dragon scales. And for the size comparison, they're like your average dice that you can get.
Yeah.
The size of them and the weight is just different. And yeah, I got that deep into my character. And
has it improved your role?
To be fair, yes. So, like, I just leveled up. I ended up getting a few different spells. And I could do some meta magic, which for sorcerers, I've got one where it can be quicken spell and twin spell. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to start using all my meta magic as well, because I got excited. It was the first battle. We're in a jungle. Turns out we had a few more sessions before we had a long rest. So using most of my spells at the beginning was a bit of an error. But I was like the kid with the shiny new toys. And I ended up rolling 3 nat 20s in a row. And my DM's just like, what the hell is going on? Because again, there's no shenanigans. We're all there. Like, you're rolling on the table and stuff. And we just couldn't believe it. And was like, those dice are amazing. And then let one of my mates use it. He put it down. He got a nat 20, but unfortunately he had disadvantage and rolled a 1. So it was both sides of it for him. So yeah, it was great. And then the session after, I was just missing everything. Like they weren't doing good. So we've created, like, the guy that likes to make everything has created a dice jail for us now. So if we start rolling terribly, they get put away for the rest of the session and we'll sulk.
Sounds like a good way to do it. I must admit, I was kind of similar story when I was in my 15. I decided that I had to hide everything that was geeky about me and just concentrate on being sport and trying to be cool, and didn't get back into stuff till I was in my 20s. But I was such a Marvel geek between like 12 to 15, and then suddenly I was just like, just stop. It was like nobody could know I was into it.
And now it's the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and I think I got to that age where I was like, you know what people think. Like, if they're gonna mock me for finding something that I enjoy doing, and I think this goes for most wrestlers. I don't know if I dropped out there, but yeah, I think it goes for everybody in life. Where I spent so much time worrying about what people think of me and stuff like that, and even like what my friends would think. And at the end of the day, if you've got something that makes you happy and that you enjoy, as long as it's safe for you and you're not at risk or anything, it's nothing illegal or whatever. But if you're doing something that you find enjoyment out of, who cares what other people think? If they're your friends and they're going to start a rib and a joke and a laugh's fine. But if they're going to like torment you for what you're enjoying in life, then are they really friends? Like, I don't want to go into a massive deep rant about it all, but yeah, it's just like what you like and just be you. Like, don't put any of these like fake charades up. And life's too short for that stuff.
Indeed, I'm really happy because a lot of my friends are not interesting like I am. There are about half of my group are, half aren't, but we've all agreed that the Super Strong Soul 16 is literally 2 weeks before my wedding, so that has become my stag weekend. So we've all booked that up. So I'm really happy about that. Before we move on to IPW, we normally do a Mount Rushton of 4 great British wrestlers who you would like, but we're going to do it different. We're going to go for the Scandinavian. So four guys who you think have influenced the scene the most and who have broken out the most, who would you put up on there from your knowledge?
I think it's difficult because there's kind of like 2 questions. There's one where they've broken out more, but then there's ones where they've influenced more. And I think if we was just going with the influence, I think you've got Erik Isaacson in Norway. You've got, I'd probably go with Steinbolt for Sweden. I would go probably Chaos for Denmark. And then I would go Starbuck for Finland. I think a lot of them started their own territories. Steinbolt's like the younger of them all, but I think he's one of the top names in Swedish wrestling and seems to be like that pinnacle of like, if you're good, you can go with Steinbolt kind of thing in Sweden. So I think for influence, it'd be those. I think for breaking out and for like the newer generation, I would put Michael Finn. Oh, this is hard.
we don't take it easy on our guests here.
You know what? You said getting out there and getting exposure, so I'd have to go. There'd be Nitro Green because he's been wrestling in Scotland. He's wrestled all over Europe. There would be Carlos Samara because, again, he's breaking out. He's the first ever Danish wrestler to get a trial with WWE. I can't leave him off it. I think Alice Inc., because probably just being biased, but I think if there's a show in Scandinavia, people want Alice Inc. on it. And now she's going to be coming over here a lot more and stuff like that. So I'd go with Alice because of the exposure she's been getting. And then I would go... Yeah, I think I'd do that. So it'd be Nitro, it'd be Carlos, it'd be Alice. And then I think I'd go with Michael Finn.
I like Alice. So if you're out there, go
so
check
hard.
those names out.
I just feel like there might be people listening to this and be thinking, you... and then a few choice words afterwards for like, I'm sorry if I left you out. It's hard to be put on the spot. I love you all. Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, so let's round up with OPW. Mutiny show coming up. 2 matches announced so far.
Yes.
Championship match. Alexis Falcon versus Tonga.
What a match this is going to be. Like, the story of all this, like, it's weird. People forget Alexis Falcon's from Hull as well. Like, we went to the same high school. Like, I was a couple of years above her. But then you'd forget that because it's like she's been adopted by the Scouts as she's been in Liverpool. But then she kind of made her name for herself in Morecambe. So it's like she's got 3 homes. She's got Hull, she's got Liverpool, she's got Morecambe. And I think at the start of Odyssey Pro Wrestling, if you asked the Morecambe fans, which are amazing, by the way, it is really Morecambe. If you ask them, who do you think is going to be the first women's champion? They'd have probably said Falcon. And Tonga's been proving everybody wrong up and down this country, whether it's at Future Shock or here at Odyssey. And you had what was supposed to be a fatal 4-way match for the first show with Falcon, Evo, Tonga, Gia. And then Evo and Falcon had to pull out for different reasons. So that turned into a singles match. And then you had the tag match where that just ended up in a like referee just stoppage just because they was just battering each other. And then you had the 4-way elimination match where Tonga did incredible to win. And what she's done from there on with the title defenses she's been having, whether it's been Lana Austin's, whether it's been against Gia Adams and Katie Hawkins, Harley Hudson recently, she's been an incredible champion. And then at War on the Shore, Alexis Falcon came back and she was like, I'm challenging you. And that match could easily steal the show. I think they're 2 of the best. I'm not even going to say women's wrestlers because I think it can not be degrading, of course, but I hate them being pigeonholed. They're 2 of the best wrestlers in the UK. The 2 of the wrestlers in the UK with the most momentum up and down the country for different companies. And the fact that's going to be happening at Mutiny on June 18th in Morecambe is going to be absolutely incredible. You've got Tonga that thinks she's better than everybody else. Is the reason why she's everybody's favorite current obsession. Like every time her song hits, I'm just dancing along in the little booth in Morecambe because her entrance music's just amazing. And she just looks down at everybody in Morecambe and they hate her for it. And then you've got somebody that's so loved as Alexis Falcon there, where they'd all probably go to war for Alexis if she wanted her to. Like, that's going to be an amazing match, and the crowd is going to be incredible and there for it.
And then, of course, as you say, Rick Marcus versus Ryan Hunter.
Whew.
Big story behind this. I'll let you break it down for the fans.
There was a saying, Ryan Hunter's the John Cena of Morecambe for a couple of reasons. One, he never loses. He's incredible. He gets the job done. But 2, he's been loved. Like, since he started training and becoming a professional wrestler, whether it's Blackpool or Morecambe, they love him. And he's been fantastic as well. Did I break up again there?
A little bit there, yeah.
I don't know what it is. Every time I use Zoom, it just likes to break. I don't know why. But yes. So with Ryan, everybody loves him. They all loved him, and they'd have done a bit like Alexis. They'd have gone to war for him. Like, he was just so renownedly loved, and he had some incredible matches, beating 2-Bit in the final to become champion, defending it against Nathan Cruz, and then it came to War on the Shore. It came to the triple threat against Decker and RPD, and RPD is somebody who the crowd love and adore, and all of a sudden the crowd's got split. You're hearing people chant for Hunter, but you're also hearing people chant for RPD. And I don't want to put words into anybody's mouth. I don't know why he did what he did at War on the Shore, but when the spotlight came out, Chris Brooker came out, and you've got the likes of Reese and Rogan, and they're gonna come help Decker. They grab the chairs, and then you get Ryan Hunter doing the chair in the back. I've never seen a crowd turn so toxic in my life. I had fans in front of the booth that was sat on, taking their Ryan Hunter t-shirt off, throwing it onto the floor, and then they'd either not put a different top on or will put their RPD top on. This is somebody that's been loved for years, where you constantly have fans wait for him. So on one of our shows, we had a fan in the crowd that I was dealing with after the show. She ended up having an asthma attack because of how excited she was getting for Ryan Hunter. And I think it was when he won the title, because 2-Bit was just destroying his leg. And we didn't know what was going to happen. And she was just, she got that into it, and that behind Ryan Hunter, that it triggered an asthma attack. And I managed to cool her down and managed to sort her out a little bit. And then she, despite feeling terrible, she waited at the end of the show for Ryan Hunter. And then you've got crowd now taking their t-shirt off, marching over to merch and demanding a refund for their Ryan Hunter t-shirts they've bought. It's still real in Morecambe, and it's going to be interesting to see what the reasons for Ryan doing what he did. But I was genuinely like, mate, you're going to have to sleep here. Like, you're not getting out alive. I genuinely think if he tried walking through that crowd to go home, it'd have got stabbed. It'd have got stabbed, punched, kicked, whatever. Like, they would have mobbed him. And I think when you've got the crowd in the palm of your hand like that, and you just clench it into a fist and discard it, it's what wrestling's about. Obviously, not people like you had grown people crying. Like, people loved him that much, and he did what he did against RPD, and so many people were behind RPD. You could hear the crowd during the match chanting for him, even when they was facing off before he did what he did. People were still wanting RPD, and once again, he got screwed out of an opportunity to become champion. And then there was attacking him, or that was going to try and end it. And the Cumbrian outlaw Rick Marcus returned after a few months after being taken out by Andre Decker, and the crowd just erupted. And there you have it. You've got Ryan Hunter that's just become the biggest villain in Morecambe. Like, you could probably...
we think that was a long pause there.
Where did we break up?
You just started talking about Rick, and you I'm not sure what's going on with Zoom right now. It's breaking up for us. Okay, so last thing, what's your take on the Lance Rivera?
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Yeah, brilliant. So Rick returned at War on the Shore. The crowd erupted, and instantly you've got two mega faces in RPD and Rick Marcus, and you've just created the biggest villain in Morecambe. I think if you robbed somebody's house in Morecambe, took all their belongings, and then you offered them a choice of, do you want the stuff we stole and off you back, or do you want a free punch on Ryan Hunter? They'd probably go for the free punch on Ryan Hunter and just think, I'll buy everything else new. That's how much he's hated, and it's incredible. Like it's going to be interesting, and the fact that Rick's got a title shot against Ryan, that crowd is going to be absolutely electric.
Yeah, and that is Saturday, the 18th of June in Morecambe. What is your take on the Simon Hill and Lance Rivera situation?
Going to get me in trouble here.
Yes, I am.
Lance is somebody, I think he's incredible. I think he is a fantastic wrestler. And for whatever reason, him and Simon don't like each other. If you ask Lance will be like, well, he keeps costing me matches. If you ask Simon's like, well, I'm just doing my job. It's him that's listening. He should be paying attention on his opponent. Is Simon trying to say things loud to try and get under Lance's skin? Like, I think he's my commentary partner, and like we've been at it from day one. We've both commentated for the first time together, and we've kind of grown together, and it's been good to see over the near year of the different paths we've both gone down and both getting opportunities everywhere, which is great. He does an amazing job, but I think sometimes he may like to antagonize Lance, knowing that Lance can't do anything about it, because at the end of the day, Simon's a commentator and Lance is an in-ring competitor. And at War on the Shore, Lance had the opportunity to get that win. He had that chance to win. And Simon, whether or not it was just him being excited or he really wanted Lance to hear him, said, just pin him. That's all he's got to do. He's got to pin him. And Lance was like, don't tell me what to do. And that allowed Nate Reese to get the win. Lance tried jumping into our booth in Morecambe to try and get at Simon. And it's a fiery thing. Like I asked the question. Lance was on a different show, and I like meddling, I guess. I like to justify people's behaviors on commentary. So I was like, Lance should do commentary with us at Mutiny, even if it's just one match. I would love Lance to join us in the booth. I'll get in between them. And I just think it'd be very entertaining just to see how they interact with each other if they were on commentary at the same time with myself in the middle. And
I think that sounds brilliant. I want to see that now.
I think it'd be really entertaining. I think it would be interesting to see if they agree on some points. You never know. Being on commentary, they might realize they've got more in common than they think. Or I'm going to be in the middle of a car crash as they both got at each other. But we've seen Simon training. Like, Lance said to me that Simon doesn't go training when he's there because he's trying to avoid Lance. So whether or not that's true, will we see them in the ring in the future? Honestly, I don't have a clue. It'd be interesting to see. But I think before we get there, I would love to see Lance on commentary, even if it's just for one match with myself and Simon.
I think that's fair. You heard it, Ethan. I'm sure you're watching. You need to book it. I think that would be the perfect idea. And with that said, just remember, don't feed the trolls.